Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the monthly web workshop over work permits in X4. My name is Matt McCrone. I'm a Tier 2 customer support specialist here at FLUKE Corporation. Before we get started, we will be going over briefly some housekeeping items. The session will be recorded. Phones will be muted for the entirety of the session. And feel free to type questions in at any time, but do know that they will not be answered until the end of the presentation. Quick topic overview of what we're going to be going over today. We're just going to go over an overview of work permit feature and how it functions, how to set up work permits and use editable PDF documents using the file type of work permits. We're going to go over how to set up and use form-based work permits, which is actually creating a work form in the system, similar to how you have form editor for work orders, assets, things like that. And we're going to go over quickly an overview of print document related tables and how that functions within the system. All right, first topic is going to be overview of work permit feature. So work permits can be created based on either an editable PDF file or a form created in eMaint, as I said earlier. File-based forms will maintain your desired PDF formatting. So if you have a PDF that you want to make editable, you can upload that into the system, and that's going to be where the file-based comes into play. Form-based allows entry points to be reported within eMaint. So if you have different pieces of data in the form that you want to be able to track through other parts of the system, such as reporting, then form-based would be the option you want to go with. A work permit can either be added to a work order or a PM schedule. And note that every work order created via a PM schedule will create a new blank work permit. And I'll go over that a little more in depth when I get to my demonstration part of this. Available options to make permit required so that work orders cannot be closed out until the permit is complete is an option. Again, once we go over the file-based work permit, I'll show you how you can create checkbox fields or initial fields that are required. So before you can actually complete the form, you will be required to put something in those boxes. And lastly, the work permit feature is available based on a subscription level. Pretty much you get the work permit feature if you have anything other than the lowest level team account subscription level. All right, so this is where we're going to get into the demonstration part of the presentation. I'm going to go over how you can access the work permit table to begin with. So let me change this. So work permits is on my table menu over here, as you can see, under work permit master file. If you do not see it when you log into your account and you do have the proper subscription level to access this, all you would have to do is come up to your shortcuts menu, go to manage tables. I'll remove it real quick. You would look up work permit master file and you can add it over here just like you would any other table. Hit apply changes and then you would see it over on the left hand side. We're going to go ahead and access that now. As you can see, I don't have any in the work permit master file now, so we're going to go ahead and begin with the creation of a file-based work permit. I'm going to come over here to the list view, go up to the plus sign and hit add new record. This is going to pull up my form for my work order or work permit master file. So first, permit type. This is just going to be what group your permit would be in. So for this case, I'm going to put hot work. And permit description is just going to be a description of that. So I'm just going to name it the same thing. Permit method. This is where you will distinguish between this form method and this file method. So like I said, we're going to start off with the file method. I'm going to click on file. We're going to bypass the eMaint form method field because we're not utilizing that for this particular one. And we're going to go ahead and go straight to the document file method. You can see that this is a document storage field. I'm going to click these three little dots to pull up the document storage. I've already uploaded a PDF into my document storage. In order for this to function, you will need to have your PDF uploaded into document storage prior to the creation of the work permit. I'm going to go ahead and hover over it and click the chain link button to link it to that field. And as you can see, the work permit PDF gets put into that field and the permit description gets populated from there. You can add comments to this if you want. And the data mapping sections and data population method aren't applicable to this particular method. So we're going to go ahead and click Save New Record. And now we have our work permit created. Now we can begin the process of editing the work permit. So to edit that, to put in the checkboxes I mentioned earlier or anything like that, you would hover over the Actions button and click Modify Permit. This is going to open up your work permit into a new tab, and this will allow you to begin the process of creating the editing points on this permit itself. So just a quick example of something you can do. This T button up here is just a text box. You can drag and drop anywhere on here, and now that will become a text box that you can type in right now. Or when you get to the work order part of this, when you go to edit it or your technician goes to fill this in, they'd be able to type this in. One thing to keep in mind is that this does function similarly to other areas of the system, in which case default values can pull over information from the actual work order. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to open up the form design for work orders real quick. So I'm just going to go to the default work order form. And the reason I'm doing this is because I need to get the field name and the table name that I want to pull over into that work permit. So for this annotation, the date, I say you want it to be whatever the work order date is for this. I can come over here, look at work order date here. The field name is going to be what's over on the right-hand side in the parentheses. And for work order table, if you want to know the table name, it's work. If you just click the edit button in form design, the table name will always be right there. So the table name is going to be work. The field name is date_WO. So now that I know that, I can come back over to the other tab. I can type into this. I'm going to surround this with $signs. And it's important to remember the $signs if you do go this route. I'm going to type in the table name and then the field name, which was date_O, and then you're going to want to end the $signs. And then once you're done with that, you can just click away from it. And you'll see when we create the work order and we go to edit this, the work order date will get pulled into this field. And this functions similarly with any of these other fields. As long as you draw a text box here, come over here just to confirm that you're doing the right field name. So let's say I want the assigned to of this work order to get pulled in. I'm going to do assigned to, all one word. So I can type it in over here, $, work dot assign to, and then end the $signs. And again, the assigned to for the work order that this work permit will be associated to will get pulled in automatically to this field if there is an assigned to. It's important to note that if for whatever reason you put any information or you try to pull any data from a field on the work order, it's not going to pull over anything if there's nothing to pull over. All right. So one of the next things we'll go over is how to make these clickable. You can see that I already have a space for a check mark. Instead of the T up here, you can either choose a radio button, which will appear like so. And if I were to leave it like this, by default, it will always be checked. You can just click on it and it should uncheck. But for this case, we will use a check mark. And similar to the text box, all you have to do is drag and drop to the dimensions that you want, and you can move it around as you see fit. And as you see, once you select this, I'm going to go ahead and leave it unchecked so that when we do create the work order and go through the process of filling this out, that you have to check it. I'm going to go ahead and create another one over here. And you can do this one of two ways. If you select the drag and drop option, you can just pull and drag. For this, you can also select this, right click, and it gives you options. You can just duplicate this and you can just drag it to wherever you want. That way you stay consistent with your size and dimensions. I'm just gonna duplicate this a couple times. Just to give you an example. All right, doesn't have to be perfect, and you can move these around as you see fit. But now when you go in and you edit this, you will be able to select this. It is now an editable point on the PDF. For this work permit, say you want these people to, whoever's doing the work, to sign off on this or to initial that this work has been done, but you want to make sure that before they can complete this and close the work order, that is required. What you'll want to do is click on the text box again and say the issuer and the receiver both need to put their signature in before they can close this out. You'll go right click on the text box that you added, hit Object Properties, and this will give you a list of options that you can use, and you'll want to select the required button and then hit OK. That's going to make this field required. Similar to any other place in the system, it'll function the exact same way. You won't be able to complete this or close the work order until this has been completed and these fields have been filled in with somebody saying, hey, this work has been done. And again, all of these are, you can add touch points to it, but for the purpose of demonstrations, I won't make you sit there and watch me create little boxes for each one of those. After you're done making the edits to your PDF and you feel like it's ready to go, you come up here and hit Save Document. Work permit document successfully updated. Just hit OK. You're done with this, this tab right now, so you can just exit out of that. We don't need that anymore because we're done with that. And so this work permit is officially ready to be associated to a PM or a work order. Right now, what we're going to do is go ahead and add one to a PM schedule and then generate that PM into a work order so you can see how it carries over. So I'm going to click on my PM tab. I'm just going to choose a random PM. You can use any PM you want. This functions with all PMs and all work orders. I'm going to come over here to the PM work permits record tab. One thing to note is you may not always see this in your account. If you do not see this as a record tab or a related table, just go back to the record details, hover over options, and either go to manage related tables or manage record tabs. If you see this up here, it's what is a record tab. And if you see, you may see it within a related table. So if I click on the related tables tab, you see that PM documents is housed in there. So related tables is a record tab. So is PM work permits, but that is only because I chose it to be. So if I go to record tabs, I can move PM work permits out of record tabs, and I can go to manage related tables and put it in the related tables record tab. So now if I go over here, you'll see PM work permits are right there. So now that we've gone over how to make sure that the related table shows up, we'll hit add new record on the related table. Permit type is going to be where we select the permit that we just created. So you'll come over here to the lookup, select the work permit, apply changes. It populates the permit type and the permit description. Put in a quick comment. Please complete before closing work order. And we're going to make this required. That way, when the PM generates into a work order, this has to be done before you can close the work order. So we're going to go ahead and save the new record. Record saved successfully. We'll go back and we're going to go ahead and just manually generate this PM. So I'm going to go to record details, manually generate. Work order 594 generated successfully. It takes you right to the work order. We're going to come to the related tables for that. And as you can see, it's right here. Again, similar to the PM. If you don't see it, just go to the record details, go to either manage record tabs or manage related tables. But as you can see, all of the information gets pulled over. It has the associated work order number, whether it's required or not, and completed. It's not listed as completed because we have not gone through the process of completing it yet. So I'm going to go into this work permit right now by hitting the Go To link. And you'll notice that there really isn't anything you can do from the actual form itself. So I am going to come up to Actions and Open Permit. You'll notice that I can select these options and they're highlighted in blue just so you can tell what is editable. You'll notice that the date pulled over, like I said, and the assigned to person on the work order pulled over. So it just automatic pulls over. And you'll notice that the two down here appear in red where these appear in blue. The red is going to indicate that these are required fields before you can complete the document. Now, once you go into this edit mode on this step, you don't have to complete it. Say you start this work and you start checking off your check boxes, but you didn't get to this one before an emergency on another piece of equipment came up. What you're going to want to do is just save annotations similar to how we did before. Make sure it's just changes from that yellowish color to a green to indicate that it's saved. You can exit out of this at that point. Go do whatever work you need to go do. You'll notice that this doesn't say completed just because we hadn't completed it yet. We'll go to Actions and Open Permit when we're ready to go back to it. Those annotations that we made earlier saved, and now we can come back in and do the work in stages if need be. All right, so for these required fields, I'm just going to put my name in here real quick. You know what? Let's just say we need initials in here. So I'll show you briefly how this works. So if I go to complete this document right now, it'll come up with one or more required fields were not filled out. Required fields are highlighted in red. That's going to indicate that you haven't done all of the required fields, and it won't let you complete this document, put something into that receiver tab that I made required. So before I actually put something in there, I'm going to go ahead and save this. We're going to hit go back once we get back to the actual work permit. And I'm going to go try to close this work order out and show you what happens if you try to close the work order out without completing the work permit. So there is a field on here that needs to be populated, but the supervisor signature is going to be the required field. If I come back over here, open permit, we can populate this real quick. We'll hit complete document, sorry, save, complete documents. Work permit document successfully completed. We can exit out of this tab. We'll go back. Record details. Just gonna edit this and put in the required fields that didn't get populated through the PM real quick. Cancel, sorry. Put something there, sign off on the work, close work order, and the work order should successfully close. The idea behind the file-based work permit is so you can pretty much make any PDF that you have editable, and to make it editable in whatever area you need it to be editable in. So now that we have discussed the creation of a file-based work permit, we will go over how to create a form-based work permit. So it's going to be the same process as creating a file-based, except when we get to this permit method, we're going to select form, and instead of going to the file method, we're going to select eMaint form method. So I'm going to go back to the work permit table. I'm going to go back to list. I'm going to hit add new record again. Permit type. Let's just put description. You'll see where this comes into play in just a second. I'm going to select form instead of file, and the eMaint form method is going to be the list lookup. So you'll, instead of selecting the little three dots, you'll select the magnifying glass. And you'll see that I have two forms here. The default form, which will in every account be the same unless you modify it. And then I have an additional form called hazard. I'm going to select that for this one. Permit description, I will just call it hazard, and I'll save the new record. So when coming to this stage, you can go through the same process if you want to edit this form. And I'll show you when you hit modify permit before with the file type, it takes you to the editable PDF to make whatever changes you need to there. With this, if you hit modify permit, it's going to take you into form design for that actual permit form. So one thing to keep in mind, you can make as many of these forms as you want, so don't worry about that. To create this form, you will actually need to go to your shortcuts menu, manage forms. You'll want to look up permit forms. So you'll see if you just type in permits, you get work permits, work permit master file, PM work permits. So all of these are different than what you would need for the form version of work permits. Work permits right here is going to be the form that is directly associated to the related table on work orders. PM work permits is going to be the form that is directly related to the PM related table. Work permit master file is going to be what you see right here in the work permit master file. So whenever you create a new work permit, the beginning stages, this is what you're going to see in that. Permit forms is going to be where you come to create new forms for the form-based permit method. So when I select that, you'll see that I have the two that I mentioned before, default and hazardous levels. If you want to create an additional one, I don't recommend just creating a new form and starting from scratch because you'll lose out on some of the core fields you need. Just highlight the default form and copy form. Once you hit copy form, this will pull up a add new form area. The form ID has to be all caps within 10 characters, and there can't be any special characters such as ampersands, asterisks. Dashes are okay, and so are underscores. Description is going to be what you see right here. So hazardous levels for this is the description. So you would type the description in there, and that would pull up a form directly cloned from this. It would look exactly the same as this. At that point, you would be able to come in and edit this in whatever form you want it to be edited in. And I'll just open up the hazard form that I created, and you can see that there are just other fields on here to show you different options that you can have. Now, with the file type of work permit method, you can pull information over by using the dollar signs and putting the field names in, like I mentioned before. Same thing applies here, except instead of doing it as a text box, you would just come to the default value. So for goal date, for example, I have that as a default value of date time +1. So I did the dollar signs. I did date time because that is going to take today's date and today's time at the time you create this new form. +1 means it's going to be 1 day from today. So the goal date in this case is 1 day from the date of creation. So if you create this type of work permit, the goal date will always be 1 day from that date and time. You can change that to whatever you want. If you want it to be 2 weeks, you would do 14 days, but just know that those times get directly, or those numbers get directly turned into days. I'm going to leave it as 1 for now. And you can do that with other information such as technician name. If you wanted the technician to get pulled over from the assigned to, you would just do the same method and put it in there. So we have our work permit created for this. We're going to go to the PM. We'll select a different PM. And just note, you don't just select random PMs. I'm just selecting a random one to show you an example. This has nothing to do with a hazardous work permit, but the purpose is to show you the process of how it gets added and created. So back to related tables, PM work permits, add new record, permit type. When you select that, it's going to pull up the 2 permits that you have. So we'll select the hazard that we just created, apply changes. Set it to required and save new record. We're going to hit the go back button and we're going to go to the PM and manually generate that work order. Both of these methods function very similarly. One is just an editable PDF, one is just a basic form that you can put in. And you can, again, you can customize that just like the work order form or asset form to have whatever information you want. So you'll see that the permit is here. It's listed as required. We're going to hit the go to link to go to the permit. Actions, open permit. Once you click on that, you will see the actual form populate and pop up. So all of these fields I have right here are just yes, no fields, lack of oxygen. You can make these fields required as well. So all you have to do is go to form design, just like any other field, and just list it as required and edit field properties. So if I go back to permit forms, I'll go to the hazardous level form. I can make this field required by hitting the wrench and screwdriver to edit the field properties. Come over to the required checkbox right here, select it to be required. I'm done there. Make sure whenever you do make changes in form design that you do hit the save button. So now I wouldn't be able to save this record unless I put a yes or a no in this. I can't leave it blank. So if I just left it like that and populated everything else, the field cannot be left blank, lack of oxygen, because I did not put anything in there. And similar to how you don't have to finish this form if you don't complete the work or get all the data that you want to put in here, I'm gonna just hit save. It's gonna take me back to here. It's not gonna be completed because I'm not done with it yet. When I'm ready to go back and do it, I'll just hit open permit again. Come here, save and complete. And now the work permit document successfully completed. And you'll notice that this checkbox has now been set to completed. Go back, and now we would be able to successfully close that work order. So the next topic we're going to go over, and the last topic for the day, is overview of print documents related tables. Keep in mind that not everybody's account is configured for the print documents related table. So if you don't see it in your account after we go over this, please feel free to reach out to either your CSM or our support team, and we can get the process started to get that created. It's a relatively simple add to your system, but again, it is based off of your subscription level. So if you are a team account and have the lowest level of subscription, you won't have access to this. Every other account should, though. So for the print document related tables, it must be a PDF file in order to print. It won't allow you to print with the work order, which I'll show you in the demonstration in just a second, or the asset or the PM. And the PDF will print based on relationship with the print with work order table selected or field selected as true. Again, when I go over the demonstration, I'll show you how that functions. It's a very handy feature, and again, it's only for the asset, PM, and work order tables. So if I come to the PM table, which let's just start with the work order table since I'm already here. If I come down to the work order documents field or related table, I know that this one is set up to already print with the work order. So all you would have to do is add your document to this table by clicking add new record. Once you get to this point, you just select the document that you want to print out with your work order. Let's just use the hot work permit. And in order for it to print with the work order, you have to select print with work order is equal to true. Save new record. Hit the go back button. Now we can go to the record details of the work order, go to actions, click on print. Prompt me to say where I want it to open with. I'm just gonna select Google Chrome real quick. Open up. Reload. You'll see that your work order is on top. and the document that you associated is right here. Now, because I chose the work permit that we had created before, the data, this isn't an editable PDF at this point, but the data is here exactly how we put it into that form. It only carries over the information if you do it via the work permit related table, not through the work order documents related table. All of the work order documents, asset documents, and PM documents, they all function exactly the same way. So as long as you add a document to it, you put print with work order set to true, that will always print with the work order, asset, or PM that you have set. The nice thing about the PM is once the PM generates, it'll carry over to the work order, similar to how the work permit did, and the value of true and the description, the actual document, will carry over as well. So if you have a document that is always going to be associated to PM, to a specific PM, and the work order is associated to that, then all you have to do is let it generate, it'll carry over, and whenever you go to print that, it'll print that document with the work order. All right, that's going to conclude the webinar portion of this presentation today. We are going to get into questions now. Again, please feel free to type them into the chat section, and I will be happy to answer as many as I am able to. Please be patient when you do ask the questions, as a lot of questions may come in, so it may take me just a minute or two just to get to everybody's question.